Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Today, I have a wonderful guest. This is part of a series where I want to talk about leadership in 2026 and how things are evolving. And I'm so thrilled to have Kris Plachy. She is a leadership and life coach with 30 years of experience working with female founders and CEOs running seven-figure businesses. Through the CEO, she helps accomplished women leaders get the financial and personal freedom they actually want by getting better at handling the hard decisions, tricky people situations, and tough conversations that come with running a multi-million dollar business. Her approach is straightforward, which is also why I wanted to have her on today. Simple frameworks that work for any leader. Most successful women don't need another leadership course. They need to understand how people, including themselves, actually work. And when her clients develop that understanding, the business results follow. Kris has a track record of helping driven women break through revenue plateaus while getting their lives back. She brings practical tools and a bit of soul to conversations about what leadership really looks like when you're doing it well. So, Kris, welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. Sounds like fun.
All right. So, this conversation is going to be extremely organic. I just think that so much is going on in the world with the
You think?
challenges, with,
Yeah.
geopolitical things, but just in
Mhm.
general, since COVID,
Mm,
life, and it's probably the new normal, but life is tough
mm,
for leaders. And I
mm.
would love to hear your thoughts on maybe specifically, my first question here is what are the key challenges that you see today with the people that you work with and the conversations that you have as we head into 2026?
Well, it's a great question. So, I guess the first thing I would say is on like the basic level of building a high performing team and getting results, which is ultimately when we think about leadership in any organization, right? A leader's role is to congeal everyone around a vision to achieve a vision, and ideally to do so through a shared value system. And then everyone has clear, from a simplistic perspective, everybody has clear instructions on what their role is to help deliver the vision and the results, right? That's really what we
Mhm.
do. And what I would say is on the surface, it hasn't changed much. The issues haven't really changed in that um, leaders have to learn how to do what I just said and then hold people accountable, either to celebrate the success
Mhm.
or to hold people to account for poor performance, poor results, right? And really, from the time that I started, you know, leading teams myself and then working with leaders, that hasn't changed. The difficulty that people have who step into leadership to hold people accountable to achieve the results that they set,
Mhm.
because that's also not often done well, um, is still the same. People are
Mhm.
people are people are people. And so I would say that first, only to sort of level
Mhm.
set that I just don't. I think that leadership is a practice in human behavior and understanding other people rather than
Mhm.
like this system that lives outside of being a human. I think it's all the same
Mhm.
thing. But and also what we now have, I think, and this did really kick in at the time of COVID, and honestly, it's not just COVID. I think it's been such a perfect storm of also social media and access to information and the increase in addiction to distraction
Mhm.
um, is, and this is applied to a leader as well as to a team member. But how do I lead people who don't know how to pay attention, who don't know how to stay focused, who are we have such a mentally unhealthy society right now, emotionally unwell.
Mhm.
And as a leader, I have to corral people to achieve a result. And I'm trying, and then they're bringing me things I don't know how to deal. I don't know how to deal with someone telling me they have this neurodivergent, whatever it is. Like it's
Mhm.
just, there's been a real increase in a lack of ability for people to focus and get work done. And that has been something that a lot of my clients have been trying to wrangle. And yeah. So I would say that's probably the big change. There's a lot of other things that are changing.
Mhm.
And this is a 5-day class, honestly, if you really right? Because there's just so many elements in the society that are
Mm.
different, but it really at the heart of it, if I wanna be a strong leader, I have to set a course, I have to tell people where we're going, I have to make sure they understand it, I have to make sure everybody has clear instruction on what their role is to achieve it, and
Mhm.
then I have to hold people accountable. That hasn't changed.
But do you think is it gotten harder?
Yeah, it's
Do we do
harder.
it differently?
No,
Like no.
we
Okay.
don't. We don't need to do it differently, but
Oh.
we think we do
Mm.
because people are responding to the world so much differently, right?
Yeah.
Just to try and keep someone's attention long
Mm.
enough to complete a task, right? So that's not their fault. That's not a team
Mhm.
member's fault, right?
Mm.
We have introduced such challenges into our world. But on the surface,
Mhm.
no. I need to be able to say to you, "Hey, Karen, you made a commitment to complete this by Friday and you didn't.
Mm.
What's going on? And how can I help? And how are we going to change that so that doesn't happen again?" I need to be able to do that. But leaders don't know how to do that, right?
Mm.
And the leadership styles have changed. We have morphed out of this paternalistic directive. I mean, not everybody. Listen, some people still
Mm.
think that works and some people still let it work.
Mm.
My issue more with the changes in leadership is more for the follower than the leader because I think if we really want our leaders to be different, then followers have to change their behavior and too many followers aren't. They still just anyway, so that's another
Mm.
conversation. But I think that that director that has changed. People don't respond to that as well as they used to
Yeah.
because that's not the accept right? We now expect a more collaborative, a more cooperative, a more co-creative culture.
Mm.
But I think leaders have then mistaken that for a loss of sort of authority if you're in the leadership role, but that hasn't changed.
Mm.
You may not be able to, like, point to someone and yell at them anymore like you did 20 years ago, but you still have to address if they haven't done their job.
Yeah.
And if
Mm.
you don't, I just coached a woman today who's got someone on her team who is chronically late, and she's just sitting, this is a mature, successful woman running a $4 million business. She's like, "I don't understand what this woman's problem is. Why can't she get to work on time?" And I'm like, "Who cares? Why are you letting her still work for you?" Is the
Mm.
question. Why
Mm.
have you not held her accountable to your expectation? Why are we over here trying to figure out what her problem is? Who cares?
Do you think are leaders not clearly communicating the expectation? Do you think
Yes,
that's part of
that's
it?
part of it. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Or, what we assume the thing about people who step into a leadership role, this isn't always true, but and work with entrepreneurs, so I can say for sure, entrepreneurs have such a ridiculous amount of self-driving ownership mentality, right? Like if they say they're gonna do something, they just do it.
Mm.
And so the assumption is everybody will.
Mm.
And the other sort of trait of an entrepreneur is to see the best in people, to believe that people are
Mhm.
capable because we've had to believe that about
Yeah.
ourselves for so long. So we give people a lot of benefit of the doubt and then we make all these assumptions and then we're almost like perplexed. Like why would she not do what she said I don't and then we let that be the narrative instead of
Mm.
no, well she didn't. Okay, let's address it.
Mm.
We have to always remember why we hire people.
Yeah.
We don't
It'll wait.
hire people
Yeah.
to create a community unless we're
Yeah.
building a membership or what. We hire people to deliver a result,
Yeah.
period.
Mm.
Like in its simplest form. And so then, but then we hire people and they don't deliver results and we lose the plot. Like, well,
Mm.
no, it's okay if she's not your person. It's okay. It's
Mm.
gonna be okay. But let's remember why the organization exists and why you created it. And it was to
Mm.
deliver this result. And if you're paying somebody and they're not delivering on the result of the position, the promise of the position, why do we have them? But then we have all the
That's a great
story, right?
question.
Well, I can't let them
Yeah.
go. They have this, their mother just they right? We have all the human part, and I'm not a cold-hearted person, but at the same time, like, creating an environment where that's really clear
Mm.
makes it so much easier for you as a leader if people understand what they're there for. Anyway.
Do you think that, people because I used to manage a $30 million business, and
Mhm,
so, also, big teams you inherit, in this case, I
mhm,
inherited a team,
mhm.
and setting that expectation, it's also becomes very exhausting,
Uh-huh.
and so but it's also we're finding excuses and we're picking our battles,
Mhm.
um And and I think that just to come back to on something that you said, indeed, attention span is so short. For
Mhm.
me, it was about, okay, where do I want to spend my time? Is this a big enough problem?
Right.
And also, so while I agree also that the top down, people don't respond to that anymore. Do
Mhm.
you think that we've gone way too far towards the other end of the spectrum, saying that, we can't say things, we're scared to say things, we have to take into account every little thing? Like, there's so much that goes into managing that situation. What is the
Yeah.
biggest challenge of people? Are they just scared?
I don't think we have. I so my point of view is, um, basic humanity is is the same.
Mm,
So if we go back 20 years ago when people were saying things, leaders, people in leadership positions were saying things that were wrong, were
mm,
bad, were mean, were cruel, were and I think people still do that, to be frank. Um, I think people get into roles and leadership roles and they don't know how to handle their authority and they
mhm,
abuse it. Do I think there are some employees who are way too um like they're seeking people to be cruel to them? Sure.
mm,
Mean. I think there's all of that, but I think in general, my belief system is if you and I make an agreement, like you invited me to do this podcast, I said yes, right? We made an agreement, right? Now you didn't hire me, but it's the same concept. You
mm,
extended an invitation, I said yes. If I hadn't showed up today, it's a reasonable expectation that you would have reached out to me and said, "Hey, where are you?
mm,
Why aren't you here today? You made a
mm,
commitment."
mm,
Right? And then you get to decide if whatever I say, "Oh, I totally spaced," or "I have 400 excuses," or "I don't ever I ghost you," right?
mm,
You get to decide what the next best step would be, right? That is what accountability looks like.
yeah,
For whatever reason, we get into a business environment and that conversation becomes hard.
mm,
And or
mhm,
I'd get so angry because as a leader, I don't know how to regulate my
mm,
emotions. I take it all personally. And then I mad at you or I ignore you or I'm afraid of you or I'm
yeah,
defensive. And then it's all weird. Whereas like, no, this is just you to me. This has been you to me for thousands of years. This is how humans have gotten
yeah,
things done. And
yeah,
somehow though, when you get a manager title it gets weird, right? Like,
mm,
people lose they get all tangled up, and we forget, like, there's this basic humanity thing here of an agreement.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's all. So, do I think the pendulum has swung? I think legally, I think HR, no offense to my HR friends out there, but I just feel like we've overregulated
Yeah.
human connection, but then we also haven't level set, like, anyone who has ever worked with me, we level set what the expectations are of how we're gonna communicate with each other. That is my job as
Mhm.
the leader. If that is not the HR's job,
Yeah.
they work with and for me, not for them. So
Mm.
I have to set that tone. I have to, if I
Mm.
expect respect, then I have to be respectful, right? So anyway, I can go on about it. But so do I think like the noise out there has swung? Sure. But do I think at the end of the day, like how do I get the best out of someone as a leader? How do employees love who they work for and what they do? I
Mm.
think that's all still the same,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about the work you do around emotional regulation, because
Mhm.
I think that personally, this is my personal viewpoint, that
Mhm.
it is one of the most important skills
Mhm.
that, as we move up the ladder, that to be able to handle those
Yeah.
difficult conversations, to be
Yeah.
able to feel the fear and just do it anyway, or to be able to accept that somebody's going to yell at you or not like you. And that emotional regulation, for me, is one of the things that sets people apart.
Yes.
Um, I don't know. Do you agree? What is your experience there?
Well, it's the premise of all my work. So, when I learned about how that the way that you process your world influences how you interact with it, right? So it
Mm,
goes through a series of you take in a stimulus, you define that stimulus, whatever it is, that the way that you define it determines, triggers an emotional response. That emotional response
yeah.
triggers a behavior, and the behavior is what leads to your result, right? That's the chain that we're all using, all of us, all day, every day,
Mm,
right? So once I realized, because it's very easy to watch and see someone who can't manage themselves,
yeah.
you can tell. They're
Mm,
so, and this is what I would say to anyone listening. If you haven't learned how to manage your own emotions, you are being manipulated by someone
yeah. Tell
because
us
they know
more.
how.
Tell us
Huh?
more.
Well, they
Tell us
know.
more about
So
that.
if you're the boss, right? And they
Mm,
know, and I wouldn't say this is necessarily conscious. This is like human to human
oh,
wisdom. If I know that if I start to cry in your office, you'll back off, I'll
mm,
do it. And I may not even do it on purpose, but I'll do it because you
mm,
can't handle feeling uncomfortable with me crying. If I know if I raise my voice, you shut down, that
mm,
means you can't regulate your own fear, defensiveness, whatever. If I
mm,
know I could say a few things to you and you yell at me, I can provoke you to do something
mm,
you probably shouldn't do,
mm,
right? So it's so interesting because, when emotional intelligence became like a thing with, it was named Daniel Goldman, I think, Daniel somebody. Anyway, I got it certified in it. I was like, and it's ironic because, I had a podcast for years, right, called Leadership is
yes.
Feminine. Well, who are the leaders that people most say they love to work for? Right? When we
Mm,
look at who, like, if your listeners are just here, like, who is the leader that you most love to work for? There is a very strong guarantee that it's because they were leaders who tapped into the emotions
mm,
that are often more associated with femininity:
yeah.
listening, collaboration, coordination, cooperation, patience,
Mm,
care, kindness, right? Coupled with accountability. Like, most people
yeah.
will tell you that the leader that they love to work with for the most was the one who pushed them to achieve more than they thought they would, right?
Mm,
So, yeah, so I work with leaders because leaders, this is the core of my work, is I watched in myself what I didn't want to deal with.
yeah.
I didn't want to deal with difficult people. I didn't want to deal with people who push back on me. And I hated feeling like that every day because I felt so powerless, but I couldn't.
Uh-huh.
I'd get shaky, my neck would get red, right? My heart would race. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Right? And it wasn't until I realized, like, I have thoughts about that. Like, this is wrong. They're attacking me. I'm in danger when
Oh,
I wasn't. Right.
mm,
And so as soon as I realized, like, oh, I, as a human, actually have a quality that other people don't have, other species don't have, which is that I can notice my own mind thinking.
mhm.
And I do believe you're absolutely right that you can tell a leader who leads themselves first
Oh,
and who can have a posture in any moment because they can understand what they initially make something mean, but then they can define what they want it to mean,
mm.
which regulates their emotion, which regulates their response. And
But it's such a skill,
it is,
and
and but it's not just a skill. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
it's a
please do.
I believe it is a requirement. Like,
Oh,
if I could create the world, I
mm,
would say no one can be in a leadership role if they can't do this because
oh,
the destruction of a
mm,
leader who can't manage their own emotions is vast. Think about what happens to people because they work for a leader who can't manage themselves.
oh,
And we've all worked for that leader too, right?
mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So yes, it is a
mm,
skill, but oftentimes, right, it's dismissed as soft. It drives me nuts when people call it the soft skill.
oh,
I mean, I
mm,
think the hardest thing I've ever had to learn was how to have a difficult conversation. I'll
yeah,
take a spreadsheet and analysis all damn day if I don't,
yeah,
but if I have to have a difficult conversation with Rhonda, I don't wanna do that, right? But then it's categorized as a soft
yeah,
skill. No,
yeah.
no. Yeah.
Um, I think that so I live in Europe, and, I don't know if it's different than in the US, but I don't find it, at least here, because most of the people that I work with are European. It's
Mm,
not it still isn't recognized, named,
mm-mm.
um, and it's I love that you reframed it or said it's a requirement. I wish it would be.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
um, f I think that which is why I started off saying it's a skill. It is I think what I want people to hear is it is something that you can learn. You have
You
to be
can.
aware of it and
Yes,
how important it
yes.
is and how much it affects your efficacy, the impact that you have. I
Your
don't think people
results.
realize it.
Your
Yeah,
results. Like,
yeah,
when you understand how to manage your mind and your emotions, you make more money,
yeah,
period. Like,
yeah,
if you're listening to this and you're a mid-level manager and you wanna get to be a VP or a CEO, this gives you the edge. If
yeah,
you are running a company and you don't understand this, you are losing money because you're paying people right now that you know you shouldn't be paying, but you're paying them because you're so uncomfortable with how to deal with them.
yeah,
And
yep,
if you could just move through that,
mm,
right? Like, learning how to manage your mind makes you money. Like, it makes you richer. It makes you more successful. It gives you more opportunity.
mhm,
It makes you more attractive to spend
yeah,
time with.
yeah.
Yeah.
So where would
100%.
people
Yeah.
start? Like, if somebody is listening to this for the first time and
Mhm,
saying, "I need to work on that," or it's
mhm.
something that they wanna explore, where would you tell them to start?
Well, just by themselves, what I would say is just spend a day, just go through this day. And as you interact with different people and you feel the visceral response that ignites through
Yeah,
that interaction, write down what you're telling yourself. And you've got to be really honest. Like, because the first step is noticing. The
yeah,
first step is in because what we're trained to do is either tolerate, just to sort of say, like, well, this is just what it means to, deal with Joyce, whatever, right?
mhm,
No, not necessarily. So what we have to do is first just notice, what do we do when he walks in the room, when she walks in the room, when I have to go to a meeting with him, when I have to have this, what am I doing in my brain? I don't want to
Right.
deal with this. This isn't fair. I shouldn't have to. He's cruel. He's mean. He's going to interrupt me. All the things that you are subconsciously we have saying to yourself, we have to bring that into your awareness because it
Mm.
gives you your agency back.
Yeah.
He isn't doing anything.
Mm.
He's being whoever he is on the planet. You have defined him in a way, right? I have a book
Mhm.
that I wrote 2 books about difficult people. How to coach the difficult person. So if you have somebody who works for you and you need to coach them, it's called How to Coach a Difficult Person in 6 Steps. And then I also wrote 5 Truths for Thinking About Difficult People. And those are both on Amazon if
Mm.
anyone's interested. But they're very small. I made them to be like, like a desk guide. Like
Yeah.
if
Okay.
you see Joyce walking down the hall, like quick, read it. If you could give yourself. But the first thing is we just sort of have to start to tell ourselves the truth that Joyce does not make me feel this way. The way I think about Joyce is making me feel this way. And now I have to
Mm.
understand what those thoughts are and
Mm.
recognize that the way that I'm thinking is triggering discomfort, angst, fear, dread, helplessness, whatever, right? It just
Mm.
gives you back your power. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It doesn't mean Joyce is doing something right. Like, it doesn't mean you have to give permission to be treated a certain way
Mm.
by that's what a lot of people think. It's just to take back your agency because once you've done that, you get to change your behavior. And what I say to people all the time is if you want someone else to change, you go first,
Yeah.
right? So, in the case of the woman that I was just talking about who has the lady who's late all the time,
Yeah.
right? And they've talked to her about it till 6 ways to Sunday, right? But nothing has actually changed. They just, "Hey, you gotta stop being late. Hey." Stuff like that conversation's so silly. I'm like, "You go first." So
Mm.
the next time she's late, tell her, "Hey, late is no longer gonna work." We've had lots of conversations about it.
Mm.
I will be documenting this as a performance memo. If you have 2 more, it's likely we will terminate you. Change your behavior first. But when we're in that other emotion of frustration and anger and resentment and burden and overwhelm and all the things, right?
Yeah.
Because then we don't do that. We just talk
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
with other people, not with the person who we need to talk to. So, change your behavior first, but you can't change your behavior until you've taken back your agency. And so that's and I work with women who lead specifically, and, women are taught through just conditioning and right? Like that's a whole other, like
Yeah.
most women are taught not to trust their own wisdom. So they
Mm.
know this isn't right, but then they don't trust themselves in how to address it. And we're not taught how to do it. We're not taught how to have a
Mm.
difficult conversation unless we were lucky to have a
Mm.
parent who
Yeah.
modeled that well. Most of us don't have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And no, it's true. It's true. And what do you think if like is that um maybe if you could just give us one example of somebody that you've worked with over
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
how much learning to do that
Hmm.
emotional regulation, that, recognizing what our brain is telling us, taking back control of what we're thinking and feeling. How can that change over time? Because earlier you did mention money, promotion. Um, could you
Whatever
just
you
have an
want,
example
right?
in
Because
mind?
if you actually think about, like, everyone listening, there's something that you want that you don't have.
Mm.
And the reason you don't have it isn't because it's not available to you, it's because you're not the person yet who will have it. And how do you become the person who will have it? You have to think and act like that person,
Mm.
right? So, I mean, let me just get one. Okay, so just this summer, I started working with a woman in Sage CEO. She has been running a company for 20 years. She generates $6 to $7 million. She's got a team of about 200 people. Um, she has, and this is a very chronic issue for female founders, she continued to operate, even though she's the CEO of a multi-million dollar business, she has still been in the middle of all decision making. She's the linchpin. She's the one that everybody comes to. She makes all the major decisions, even the small ones, and people would just, it was a revolving door into her into her office. How do I do? What do I do? How do I deal with this, right? She came to me just like, I hate my company. I hate my team. I can't do this anymore, right? She's approaching 60. She's just done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, first we have to just look at why do you keep doing that? Because you keep answering all the questions. So guess what? They're going to
Mm.
keep asking them.
Yep.
So why are you doing that? Right. And there was a host of reasons, but the primary two reasons were if I don't, they'll ruin it.
Mhm.
They'll break it. They'll break my company. Right. And if I don't, what do I do? Who am
Mm.
I? Right. So that was July. As of my last call with her, which was just a couple weeks ago, she has removed herself from day-to-day operations.
Oh.
She has appointed, right? She already had leaders of leaders, but now they have been sort of formally anointed
Okay.
with the charge of driving the business.
Mhm.
She sits at the head of the board table.
Mm.
She is no longer the operator of the
Mm.
business. And she has done that by giving them the task. So she changed the way she thought, right? I have to do everything to I hire people who run this company and I hold them accountable to results. And what I talk about with my clients all the time, in the world that we operate in, you're lucky if you keep someone for 3 years. This belief that you're going to keep people forever and if they leave, you're failing, that we got to get over that. What we have
Mm.
to do is
Mm.
build the business so that the roles are really clear and you can replace a role. Does it suck?
Yeah.
Yes, but that's your job. It's not
Mm.
to build a business around the people you have. It's to
Yeah.
build a business that has roles and we find people, right? So now, right, she's scheduling more vacations. She has girlfriend's trips that
Yeah.
she's planned. She's spending more time with her husband who's just retired, right? Like her life has dramatically changed just in
Yeah.
6 months, and it was
Mm.
simply because she changed what she believed about herself
Mm.
in her role,
Yeah.
and that hasn't been like a breeze. She's had lots of difficult conversations. She's had to take a couple weeks off because she got really, before things get better, they will always get worse,
Yeah.
because when people are
Mhm.
used to you as the leader carrying all the things and then you stop,
Yeah.
they don't like that.
Yeah. No, they
Oh,
don't.
yeah. Yeah, no, they
They don't
resist
like
that,
change.
they put up a
Yeah.
fuss, some of them quit, like,
Yeah.
it's legit, right? But
Okay.
that's the transformation that we all have to go through if we want
Yeah.
to get
Okay.
what's on the other side of the vision that we have. So, that's just one example, but that's what I do with my clients all the time, and I watch them do that, I watch them gain more freedom, I watch their businesses expand. One of my clients just sold her business for 8 figures. When I started working with her, she was at $3 million, and that was just 2 years ago. How was she able to do that? Because she built a team that could operate her business and get her out of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay. No,
it's
it's
all good
those are
stuff.
beautiful, beautiful examples. And I really want the listeners to understand that it is possible, that
Of course.
things like that. It is not for other people. Like
Right.
anybody can go through that process. So,
It
those
just
are yeah,
requires willingness.
yeah, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
not easy. We're
No.
not saying it's
No.
easy, but it's
No, but it's
possible.
it's it's willing, and
Yeah.
it's, it's funny because here in the States, right, we just had the Super Bowl and Bad Bunny was the performer and he's from Puerto Rico. And I was raised in Puerto Rico from the time I was 1 till I was 7. And I was fluent. I learned how to speak English and Puerto Rican, which I say with love because it's its own little version of Spanish. And then when we moved to the States, I refused to speak Spanish when we moved
Oh,
home when I was 7. And so after watching that, I was like, God, I really wish I knew what he was saying. And so I got myself this AI app and I am determined, right, to learn to reactivate is what they say, because
very good.
it's built into my whatever, my pathways, it's in there. Um, but it's all my willingness to do it. I have to open up that app. I have to practice. I have to be
Yeah.
willing to be bad at it. I have to be willing to not want to, right? I have a little thing that comes up that says, it's time for your lesson, right? And I don't want to, but I want the result.
Yeah.
So, right? It's just like so many
Mm,
of us, like, I don't want to lose weight, but I would like to be skinny,
yeah.
right? I don't want to lift weights, but I would like to be strong.
Mm,
Well, the only way to be strong is to extend and rebuild right? Like rebuild
yeah.
your muscle. That's hard work. So everything requires effort,
Yeah.
including learning how to manage and understand your mind.
Mm, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, such powerful, and such gold. Thank you.
Of
So
course.
tell us, because you've stopped your podcast,
I
but I
did.
know that you have other things coming up. So tell us a little bit about this transition, where you're going, and if people ever wanted to work with you. Is that even possible? Because I know you work a lot on referral only, which is
Mhm.
my dream, by the way. So tell us about, yeah, where we could find you.
Yeah. So, yeah, the podcast was such an I had it for so long. And so I just kind of realized, like, okay, this one's done. I'm doing a lot more writing. So I have a newsletter on my website, thevisionary.ceo, people can subscribe to. Um, and if you've particularly liked kind of what I'm talking about as it relates to, the design of a team as a leader, I would recommend people go to thevisionary.ceo/1 hour leader. It's a book I wrote. It's available digitally and audioly. That's not well said, but regardless, and it
Okay.
walks you through all those steps that I've been talking about in a very
Mm,
simple way. And so if you're leading people and you're kind of looking for that, that might be a good first step. I do run a program called Sage CEO for female entrepreneurs who are running multi-million dollar businesses. And um, I call it Sage because my clients are the sages in their world. They're the people that people come to,
mm,
right? To get to get the support they need. And so I want to be that person for her, right? Where does
right.
she go? And so we do all sorts of interesting things. In the next 12, starting in March, I'm starting a new mini mastermind for them that's called How to Find Relief. There's been a lot of efforting for women over the past 7 years or so in an as we've talked about, like in a different
Mm,
way. And so in addition to thought work, we're going to wrap in some work around the nervous system and how our bodies respond to challenges. And I'm also bringing in one of my former clients and a dear friend who is a physician, and she's actually going to talk about the biology of relief and
mm,
how women especially need to pay attention to particular hormones and cortisol and the actual biology of stress, and then how to find relief that way. So we're going to look at a
mm.
few different things in addition to understanding how to deal with those difficult moments and decisions and people. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's a extension of the work I've been doing for years. So um yeah.
Great. Well, I will link it in the
Okay.
show notes. Is there anything else? Any last minute thoughts? Yeah, points
Yeah,
of
I think
view
my
that you'd
final
love to
thought
put
would
out
be is
there?
if you're in a leadership position, I believe you were really called for it. You were called to be in it. And just like if some people, you know, are scuba divers and they're saving the coral reef, or someone else is decides to be the mother of 15 children, whatever that is. Like, this is your chosen classroom,
Mhm.
and each classroom that we sort of step into as a human presents the lessons we need to learn. And if you are struggling with the difficulty of leading people, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means there's more tools for you. There's more lessons for you, and to seek out the resources and the teachers who can help you.
Mhm.
You're not in the wrong spot. You just don't have the support and the tools that you need right now. And people like Karen and me, that's what we do, right? We surround
Mhm.
people like you to help you through those transitional growth moments.
Yeah.
So don't quit, don't give up, stick with it, but seek out support. You're not meant to know how to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would also maybe just build on that to say also to the ladies out there listening is we need you.
Yes,
The
please.
world needs you. I mean, I
Yes.
love working with men, but I've worked in industries where there just weren't a lot of women, and it's the world needs women leaders. And I just hope that the work that we're doing here and other amazing women will set an example for people, because I believe the future generations need that even more.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that
I
in.
I have to tell you, if you'll indulge me, I just posted on LinkedIn before our recording, and I'll just read you the first few lines because this is what I just wrote.
Okay.
This is a summons, not to work harder, not to push through, not to be a warrior, but to become steady. I believe it will be women who will help lead this next era, not through force, but through wisdom. Sages, grounded, regulated, clear. There's a lot more to it, but that's what I just wrote. So it's sort of timely that you just said that, because I agree with you. I believe that if we are in a leadership role, we are here, and we are here to learn so that we
Mhm.
can help heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Chris. And I did see that post right
Oh,
before
did
you
you?
came on. I
Just
did,
posted it.
and I screenshotted it. And
That's too
I was
funny.
going to read it, but then we just kind of got right into it. So yeah, great minds think alike. So thank you
Absolutely.
so much. To my listeners also, please go check her out. Her work is amazing.
Thank you, love.
Um, and yeah, she's been an inspiration to me for years. So thank you, Chris, for all the work that you do.
My pleasure. Thank you.